All right, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday on this December 12th, 2025. Great to have everybody here. All right, so go ahead and type in your symbols. Do it in caps for me, easier to see. And let me know if you're long, short, or perhaps thinking about a trade, and I'll do the analysis tailored specifically to your needs. And that's the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday, for me to take a look at things that are interesting to you and give you an analysis based on the software I use, and also different techniques I've learned over the last 30 years of trading the financial markets. All right, before we dig in here, quick good morning to everybody. Thank you. Good to see you all. All right, let me just go through quickly a few administrational items, starting with our presentation disclaimer. Just to let you know that there's risks involved in trading the financial markets. Past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. We deal in a realm of probabilities when we trade the financial markets. It's important for you to know that, and always use risk control, and always use money you can afford to risk in the markets. No guarantees, folks, okay? When you deal in a realm of probabilities, you can execute your strategy perfectly and still end up on the losing side for trade. But the key is to control your risk. Also, too, any recommendations I give you here, if you show me a stock and I recommend it, make sure you check with your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure it's suitable for you. I don't know your personal risk tolerance, and they certainly should. So I do like to cover that before we begin any live presentation. All right, in terms of books, I have specific books on risk control for you. Jeannie will put up a link in the chat area for our books, and it's at our Amazon area. And also, I'll put a link in the recording if you're watching the recording to anything that I think might interest you. So you can check that out. My newest book, The Art of Trading, second edition, has come out this year. Good reviews, great reviews, actually. And it's a really good book. It's 608 pages because it covers everything. So you may want to check that out and get that for the holidays too, right? All right. Also, too, we're going to be looking at charts using software called the Applied Reality Trading System, the OWL, PTF, TLM, and ERI indicators, also available on our website. Also, I'll put a link below in the recording for that as well. And Jeannie probably will put a link up here in the chat area for our software at some point. Also, we have not only charting software, but scanners and risk control software, all important aspects. We kind of leave no rock unturned when it comes to what you need to know in order to have a chance at being successful in trading the financial markets. All right, and then before we go further, give us a like, all right, to help our standing on YouTube. And then just a couple more things to cover. The markets making new highs. However, we feel that in 2026, we're going to have some interesting changes in most of the asset markets. And in order to keep up with that, we have a service called the MOR Report, which stands for Market Opportunity Report. And included in this report, we also have stock picks too, stock opportunities. It's pretty inexpensive in today's environment, so you may want to pick that up and keep up to date with the markets. And then also, actually tomorrow, we have a Saturday training education workshop, and Jeannie will probably put a link up here for that as well. But definitely tune in for that. That's actually going to be on our YouTube channel. So maybe there is no link. Maybe you just go to YouTube like it did for today. And it will be there. We're going to cover the OWL, PTF, and TLM indicators and how that can help you in your trading. So if you're interested in that, we'll be there tomorrow. Be about a half an hour to 40 minutes long. And then finally, we've got the Advanced Price Action Trading Made Easy course out. It is great reviews on that so far. It's 6 modules, video, plus instruction, and it is available, and Jeannie will put a link on that as well. All right, we're done with the administrational items. Woohoo! Okay, let me just get a pointer up here. So give me 1 second to get set up with that. I have to do that after the slideshow because for some reason it interferes with that. Okay, I think we're good to go now on that. And I'm going to get rid of my cam so you have full access to the charts. And then let me just dig in here. So let me go and find our first picks of the day. And I think, Clint, that's you, okay? All right, let's take a look. Good day to you too. All right, so I don't know if you're long on any of these, but we'll check them out here and give you an analysis. If you give us some picks here, tell us if you're long or not, because it helps me decide, or if you're looking for a stop loss or something. All right, well, I don't think you need to be a brain surgeon to figure out it's in an uptrend, right? So I don't know if you're long already or not, but currently here, it's a mature trend, probably getting ready for some type of pullback at some point. But here's the thing. All right, very simply, we're still making higher highs. This pullback here is not enough for a change in structure. So, I mean, you could just do a short-term trend line for there for now. And we have a couple of gaps here that it's going to fill. So we'll see if it turns around at some point. Our indicators at the bottom, and this is what we're going to be discussing in our Saturday workshop tomorrow, are green. This indicator is called the PTF, and it has a 75% probability of accuracy. And so when it's green, it indicates more highs are coming. What it does not tell us is how much of a pullback we're going to get before those highs come, or when. Okay, so it's one of these things that they give us a clue that more highs are coming, but we still have to know price action and have some type of strategy for risk control so we protect our downside. But in any case, this is showing more highs are coming, and we're pulling back a little bit. So I think probably at this point, if you're thinking about a trade on this, wait for the pullback to stop, okay, and see more pressure to the upside. All right, so I wouldn't recommend this right now because currently we have some bearish bars in a pullback. We may even go all the way to the trend line before we see a reversal. So just hang tight on that and come back to that at some point. Let's take a look at Apple here. And Apple, very similar situation here, okay? So we looked at this last week. We had a bullish fair value gap. Prices actually closed below it. All right, we don't always like to see that, but we had another one down here. So that actually held on this one down here. So let's redraw this lower one in. All right, and let me just zoom in a little bit on that. So we had a wick into the consequent encroachment of that fair value gap and rejection. So that's a good sign. Okay, we like to see that. If we get above this here, we probably would go ahead for a long trade there. But again, short-term trading here, we probably get out when it sweeps equity here. All right, so we wouldn't be in it for that long. And you can see it's a fairly mature trend. So all these mature trends that have really continued to go up. I mean, the trend is up here. There's no change in structure yet. But you will get the change in structure at some point. So the longer it goes up, the riskier a long trade becomes. So just note that. In our OWL indicator, we're starting to see here some bearish divergence as we go up. So these are just all warning signs that the trend is mature. But we have a green PTF. We have basically a bullish fair value gap that held. We had rejection. Climb above here. I think we're probably going to get one more leg up, and you can even draw in a bull flag here. And as long as we had close above there, that's a pretty good sign. So I'm thinking another high above here, but I'm not going to recommend it because I don't think for most people they can watch it that closely. Okay, so that is Apple. All right, and then CMI is our next one. And if you're in it, I'd stay in it, okay, at this particular point. Anything you're long in that's done really well, just stay with it until the structure changes. And what does structure changing mean? Well, it means you go up, you go down, you go to here, and that's a change in structure right there. So that's kind of what you want to see to finally get out of a trade. So you got to wait for that, all right? This here, we had a little bit of a reversal here. We've got a possible pin bar here, but we've got green here. Big owl here. So when I see this type of thing and a correction due, how bad could the correction be? Well, what I would do is just grab your fibs, okay? And here, we'll just grab them right here and we'll run it up from here to here. And you're talking about a retracement if it becomes a wave 4 type of retracement into the 440s to upper, well, 440s to 400-ish. So quite significant. So you got to be a little bit careful on these mature trends because they can go into these deep retracements. But in this case here, it's too early to tell, but we did get a reversal bar here. So I'd kind of wait to see what happens with that. And we got a pen bar with rejection up here. And, you know, you're at all high territory here. So any longs here you have to really be careful here. Okay. All right, Clint, hopefully that helps you. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's keep going here. All right, Edward, how are you? Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, potential buys long. Okay, OPFI. Let's see what we got there. All right, let's see. All right, so we broke the trend line and we have a green PTF. We have a green owl on the time frame, the 1 minute time frame. We've got a pyramid here. We broke out here. I'm liking it. Okay. I think, let me just make sure we hit the order block down here. So that looks pretty good. We got above here. We got a fair value gap starting to show here. And we've got really no bearish fair value gap there to worry about. Yeah, I'm liking this. I think we could get a pullback at some point on this little retracement up here. So, you know, we got a fair value gap here. We got one here. So I would expect, let's just draw some fibs in here to get kind of an idea on a normal area. So maybe a drop back to 10.5 to 10 roughly, but more highs should ensue off that. So it did what it needed to do here. So here's the bottom line. If you don't mind going in at a high point and put your stop way under here, or even under this pyramid, then you're fine. You can go long here. If it bothers you going in at a high point, wait for the retracement and then go in. Okay, so either one is good. I'm going to put this down on the buy list because I do think this will break its high, and I think the target we have here is 689, but the PTF target is like 1766 because that's green. So I'm looking for us to get solidly into this target area up here. Okay, so I think probably this is a good long at this point. Okay, and I would hold it. All right, and then put your stop as low as you can afford to under here, and then adjust your trade size so it's comfortable. It's a comfortable trade for you. Okay, so that is a buy. I'm going to put that one on the buy list. All right, NTLA. Okay, so this one's come down quite a bit. We're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround. We got a pyramid here at the bottom, so I'm liking that. And I'm also, let's just see if any equity was taken out down here. So we took out some equity there. Okay, so big move up here. Notice the structure here stopped it dead, and then we pull down. This is kind of, you know, the risk you take when you take a look at a trend and you want to get in up here at the mature part of the trend. This is a pretty violent move down. Most of them aren't like that, but you can certainly get a move down to those fib retracement levels. So you do have to be careful when you buy in to a mature trend. So here's my thing on this. We got a green PTF on the weekly chart. So it looks like we're heading up. We also got one little issue here. Okay, we got a bearish fair value gap. I'd like to see prices get over that before I go long. Even though you got a pyramid here, that's fine. All right, you could go long and put your stop under there, but you got to get above this here for us to be pretty confident at that point that it's not going to take one more leg down before it reverses. So that's the only concern I have here. A lot of times with trends, I mean, when you look on that weekly chart, all right, a lot of times you'll get a hook, one more hook down before you have the trend change. And so I'm concerned that we haven't had the last hook down, so to speak. It's been pretty much a straight dive, and you don't always get a V-shaped recovery off that. But if it gets above the bearish fair value gap on the weekly chart, then that's probably a sign you'll get a V-shaped recovery. So let's put this on the watch list. All right, for most everybody. But again, Ed, if you wanted to take this and put your stop under the pyramid, you could do that because you have risk control in place, and you do have a fair value gap in here, which is something we do like to see after a breakaway bottom, because that's an order block possibly. So it's got, you know, on the daily chart, it looks really good. On that weekly chart, I just wanted to climb above the bearish fair value gap to be sure. At that point here, then probably we're going to target this area up here to 28. Okay, so it's kind of a mixed bag. I think I'd like to take a look at it one more week, next week, to see if it gets above there. But certainly if you're trading here and you want to take a quick trade here, you have every reason to based on the daily chart. The only thing you don't have is the green owl. So there's just a couple things going against it. All right, thank you. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, let's take a look at gold. I'm going to just do the GLD, okay, because I don't have Antonio my futures up there yet. All right, so my futures data, put it that way. All right, so on gold here, our target on this leg up is to break the current high and get to 425 to 465. So that should also be the same for a gold, USD gold, and also the futures market. Okay, so I'm anticipating more highs on gold, and then when we get to this target, we may be at the end of the wave 3 on the weekly chart, and may see us go into a more significant wave 4 after that. So basically on this, what we're looking at here is now 3, 4, 5 on this leg, with a target up in this area here between 425 and 465. After that's reached, all right, then we may go into a more significant wave 4 down into this area on this chart here. So remember, there's 5 waves inside wave 3. So this is the 5th wave, which will end wave 3 at this area. And then we go into wave 4. So gold could pull back to 316, 237 before it has its next leg up. All right, so that's kind of what I'm thinking on that. All right, hopefully that will help you. All right. Okay, Clint, good. All right, let's see what we got here. Silver. Okay, silver is the other one. Okay, this has been also in our more recommended list as well. And that is currently now hit its target. Okay, so the target, short-term target was here, but notice now that we have this above here. So this is probably, we're going to have a little bit of a pullback and more highs. So silver's not done yet. All right, silver's got quite a bit of movement back to the upside, but you may be able to catch a little pullback for a buy-in. But at this particular point, this is wave 3 on this time frame. So this was the minor waves inside wave 3. So this is the target for wave 3 right now. So if that's the case, I think you're going to have one more leg up. I think you're going to get up into this higher zone here. So I'm just going to redraw these now just to get a better idea of where the wave 4 on this chart would most likely end up. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. So we'll draw that for here. So let's say it ended now. If it ended now, then silver would probably come back into the 40s, okay, and then proceed higher. But I think it's going to continue up a little further, okay? So that's kind of what I'm thinking on that. So silver would be a good long-term play at any price now. However, I think you would be better off waiting for a pullback and then go into the silver market. Okay. But I'm not saying it's done. Okay. It looks like both gold and silver have much more room to move up. All right. As back, FICO potential buy. Let's see. FICO. All right. So we looked at this before, and it looked like we had a wave 4 bottom on the weekly chart. So 3, 4, and then 5, okay, up here. And again, this is why I'm always skeptical about buying in this area here, okay? A lot of the retail traders do this because they have FOMO, fear of missing out. And the news is all great and everybody's in it and you want to be part of it. And then what happens is it goes into a major correction. And if you're not in it for the long haul, you'll probably get out at the wrong time. But if you were patient, it would have paid to wait and get in it at the better price, because it would, now it's going to take months to get back up to maybe where you bought in. So patience in the market's a big deal. All right. Do your analysis. And if it looks like it's not a good time to buy and you're expecting a pullback, wait. Oh, you're always better off to wait. Follow that. All right. So the question is now, is the pullback done? And I think it is. Okay. I think it looks pretty good. And we've had a nice run up here, had a pullback. And you can see on the daily chart on this, there's quite a bit of volatility. So I would basically make this a trade that you're going to hold for a while, a long-term trade, and not worry so much about the volatility. So I'd put your stop pretty far down here to give it room for that volatility. And you got a pyramid forming here and here. And you got a little bit of a range here right now, but I think it should make its way up to the target between 26 and 34. All right, before its top is put in. So I would say buy it, but I would consider it a long-term buy. If you're buying for a short-term trade, you've already had 1, 2, 3 pyramids. You've had a fairly extenuated move up. You have a situation where you could get in here and then have it pull back. And again, you may be better off waiting. So I'd make it a long-term play. All right. All right, Kumar, how are you? Okay, target, TGT. Let's see what's cooking with that. Okay, so, all right, we've got no more red PTF on the weekly. I like that. We still got an active pyramid to the downside. This would have been your entry. This would be your stop. And so that has not been triggered yet. We've got a situation where we had a nice move off the bottom. Let me just see if there's any. All right, so they took equity out here. All right, there's still a little more equity out there. So here's what I'm thinking on this. We kind of have not had a break in structure yet. So we got to get above that pyramid's base leg on the weekly chart for a break in structure. So technically it's still down. All right, and you can see that break in structure line on the daily chart very clearly. So that would be right here. Okay, so we want to get above that for us to consider a possible situation on an uptrend. And I would imagine something like this will unfold. It'll take equity, pull back to this area. You got a fair value gap here and here. So pull back here and then go. If this holds, then you'll be all set. So I kind of wait to see how it reacts down around the 90 to 85 mark. So I think I would hold off on this, okay, for a variety of reasons. One, you don't have a break in structure. You have an active pyramid on the weekly, and you have a situation where they're probably going to take equity here, and then it will probably sell off to give you a better opportunity to buy at that point. Okay, so that's kind of the deal on that one. I'd hold off on that one. HL. All right. Example of a mature. Now, do you think it makes sense to buy here? Now, it would have made sense to buy on the breakout way down here or the first pyramid, right? But what about now? Okay, you've had 1, 2, 3, 4 bullish pyramids in a row, and you're starting to see bearish divergence. Doesn't mean it can't go a little higher. But then where's your target? See, that's the only issue there. I would wait for a pullback on this and then see what happens. Let me just see if there's a little bit of an internal situation here. So you're already at the target for this wave 3 here. So if this ended today, then chances are you're going to get a pullback into the $14 to $11 range. Okay, that's possible. All right, so I kind of would not do this one. Okay, I think you're chasing it there. Silver, I already showed you. Okay, so silver, once again, all right, is kind of in an area too where it's up there. I would probably wait for a little bit of a pullback on this at some point, but it is going higher for sure. Long-term position you could take on this as long as you don't worry about a short-term pullback. Okay, thank you. All right, Ed, how you doing again? Okay, LO. All right, so we've had the pullback on this one, which is good. All right, Ed, I've noticed you've gotten better at waiting for pullbacks instead of buying near the top. So that's kudos for that. All right, so let's take a look at this and see what's cooking here. A little bit of a red owl here, but that's okay because it's almost going green. We've got two charts simultaneously with PTFs that are green. We had a nice pullback, and let's just take a look at market structure here. So we've got a situation where we probably got an order block sitting right around in here. So let's just see what we got cooking here. So that is big structure there. You don't really have it here. It's more here. Okay, so that's where that is. Let me straighten it a little bit. Okay. All right, so you had this dig into this fair value gap here, and now we're seeing a move down again. So let's see where this could go. You had a fair value gap here that did not hold. All right, so again, is it going to be another leg down into the order block before it turns around? Possible. Okay, it's certainly possible. So let's see. Let's take a look at this one next week. All right, don't do anything with this now. I would wait until next week because what I'm thinking here is we may even have a bearish fair value gap form. And if that's the case, then the buy would be above the fair value gap and you'd still get in at a pretty decent price. I want to see if this bottom holds or if it goes to the order block. All right. And I'm not sure. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right. But anyway, bearish bar today. Let's see if there's continuation on that next week and then come back next Friday. And we'll take a look at it. Okay. Thank you. That's okay. LO. Clint, my pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Let's see. Yeah. TGIF, right? Kumar, that's funny. All right. So let's see here. All right, let's go on. Kumar's back here. Let's take a look. Watch list to buy. Great. All right. So CMG. Okay. So this one is looking interestingly, but red PTF. Okay, here. So right away, that kind of taints me to the downside. And if we go to the weekly chart, what do we got? Huge bearish fair value gap. We're right at consequent encroachment. Okay, right at that 50% mark right here. So I would say stay away from this right now. We won't even consider a long position until we get above that fair value gap, bearish fair value gap. We have to, there's no change in structure, and that's a very powerful downward bar. Could it be a manipulation bar? Sure, it could, but we're not going to know until it gets above, prices get above it. We also could get a rip back down once we go into this fair value gap up to the encroachment area. So we're close to seeing what's going to happen probably in the next week or two on that. And you can see there's a gap here we're filling as well. So I don't like the bearish PTF here. All right. Don't forget that has a 75% probability of accuracy. And I don't like the bearish fair value gap on the weekly chart. All right. Always look at the longer time frame too. Okay. So that's a no-go. LU. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So check this out. All right. So on this one, look at the fair value, bearish fair value gap we had here. We had here down to here. What's the difference between this one and the last one? We're closed. If we get a close, we have to close above it. All right. So if we get a close above that today, okay, then that's a bullish sign on the weekly chart. We've already got the bullish signs on the daily chart, the pyramids, and we've broken the channel. All right. So I don't like this little reversal up here on the structure up here because we're seeing that a little bit. But the day is not over, and that can fill and go back up. So if we get a close above here and a close above this structure, so we had a little break in structure here. This would be a bigger break in structure. And then let's see what about down here. Okay. So this concerns me a little bit too. All right. They got down here, but they didn't take equity here. There's a lot of liquidity sitting under this area, a lot. And I'm a little concerned that they didn't take it, because that means they may return and take it. So this move up may be slightly engineered for everybody to go long, and once again to put stops here, and then they can take here too. So you got to be a little careful here. I like the fact that it closed above here. I think I would put my stop down here if I go long here, and if I'm stopped out here, chances are they're going down to this liquidity here. Okay. So, if you want to put your stop under here, that's fine. But the problem is that they take liquidity out. They can do it by, 10 points or so. So let's see how it closes today. It might even close above here, but that's actually a good sign. Also, too, we had a bullish thing here too. I think if it closed above here, all right, I probably would take the trade and put the stop under here. Okay. Pretty far away. Might want to do an option on it instead. All right. So a couple things I like and don't like about it. I'm not going to recommend it, but I wish they took this equity out. It'd make life a lot easier to make a decision on that. Okay. All right. Let's go to UPS. If I was day trading that, I probably wouldn't take it. All right. So let's see what we got here. UPS. All right. So the PTF is turning yellow, which means that it was correct. It was accurate. And now it is no longer green. So it did make the new high. And we're smack in the middle of a huge bearish fair value gap there. We got a nice move off the bottom there. And looky, did we take equity? Let's see what the bottom of that is. So we got 82. And no, it can't be right. 82. So exactly the same. All right. Let's see if any one of these is lower. 8236. No. Okay. So technically, they didn't take equity there. Okay. They came down to it and reversed off it. And now we have a big fair value gap here. And we have a move up here on this one. But technically, it has not broken above that one. It is. Let's see how this one closes, exactly like the other one. All right, let's see if this one closes above the fair value gap. And if it does, then that could be certainly a decisive factor of a long position here, especially with the green owl there and green here. My only problem is it didn't take equity here. That's awful close. Why wouldn't it take it? I mean, it's possible there's a lot of buyers pushing it back up so it doesn't take it, but it's kind of unusual not to take it. So a little suspect. I think on these ones where it doesn't take equity, I think you got to wait for a change in structure, and you don't technically have it here until you get above here. So let me just draw that in. These are really good because they're a good learning session. All right, so technically, all right, you don't have a change in structure in the downtrend until you break that red line, because that red line is a support area that would have to be broken for a change in structure. In other words, a new trend to the upside. So on these that did not break equity, I think I would wait for a change in structure instead of just going long on top of a bearish fair value gap. If they took equity here, I'd be much more aggressive in going long. Okay, hopefully that helps. And that's UPS. So I wouldn't do that unless it got above the red line. So let's put that on the watch list for next week. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. HL. All right. So you bought at 1770. So you're already in. Okay. So now, what is your plans for targeting? And you don't have to answer me, but the idea is when you go into something like this, and you go in fairly high, what is your target? Okay, that's the question you have to ask. All right, so I would probably think at this particular point, we've got a little bearish divergence, but we have a pretty strong owl on the weekly along with a green, but you may have to give it some room in order to maneuver to higher prices. So at this particular point here, let's just do this. We drew in here, a retracement from here to possibly here. So if the trend ends and retraces here before going higher, it could go between 415 and 11. All right. But I think what I would do here is I'd probably anchor my stop at this pyramid here, or, at this particular point, maybe you can always take a little off the table for your stop to be under the pyramid. But if the stop gets hit, you break even because you scale out or take a partial up here. So how you manage the trade can affect how you do on this. But at this particular point here, it's subject to a reversal at any point. Whether you're going to get it now or not is a gamble. Okay. And you got in late because look at all the pyramids here. So that's a trade I would not have taken. But you could still get out with a profit, or if you think it's going to go higher, try to take a partial and put your stop at a meaningful place like under the pyramid for it to have enough room to possibly go higher. Okay. Great. All right, Stuart. How are you, Stuart? All right. Team. Watching team, you're watching these. Okay, so let's see what we got. All right, so nice retracement on this one. It's kind of a bottoming area here. Trend is still down on the weekly chart. We have not broken structure, so you got to wait, okay? We may take out this equity on these double bottoms or triple bottoms because this equity was not taken. And you got to think like retail traders. If you were long here, where's your stop going to be? Here. Okay. Maybe even here. Okay. These people that were long here haven't been stopped out yet. So if they're trading higher, longer term situation like the weekly chart, then there's going to be a pool of stops here, right? More significant traders here are going to have their stops here, all right? But you haven't broken equity yet. You haven't broken, not equity, you haven't broken structure yet. So you still have an active pyramid here representing that move to the downside has not been broken yet. So keep watching it and bring it back next week, okay, on that one. All right, ESTC. All right, let me just check behind me. I'm looking at the NASDAQ right now. I think we're getting possibly ready for a move up to the midnight highs now. So I'm going to be taking a long trade in the NASDAQ pretty soon. All right, so let's take a look here. Okay, Etsy, same thing, exact thing. Keep an eye on it, but we don't have a change in structure yet. All right. So you got ES, what did I look at? ES, that's okay, that's not Etsy, that's ESTC. So ETSY. All right, let's see what we got here. On this bad boy. Okay, this one at least broke structure. So we had a move up, move down, broke structure, kind of nice here. All right, so we had a move down, broke structure, haven't taken out equity here. Okay, so this one, what I would do on this one is what we're really doing is analyzing this move. I think maybe long term, we might be in the beginning of an uptrend, but if you analyze the current move here on here, okay, it's still kind of in a downward area. Really haven't had a little break in structure and a move down here, but I'd like to see another push up, I think, because currently it seems like we got a little bit of a couple days, almost this whole week has been slipping to the downside. So I would almost draw a trend line like this and wait for the break in the trend line before considering a long position. Also, too, I'd like it to take out this equity here. Let me just draw a better line than that. Okay. So we haven't taken that, and so I can conceivably go down and take that out because there's a lot of liquidity sitting there. Okay, so let's wait and see. Let's give this one another week as well. All right. All right, great. So let me just go over some of the ones right now. So the ones I like for this week is OPFI. That was a good one. And then FICO for a long-term trade. I like that one as well. And then on the watch list, we've got NTLA, OKLO, and UPS. All right, so those are the ones we want to definitely look back. And you can bring any of these back next week that we are kind of staying at it for right now. Okay. All right, well, guys, thank you. Guys and gals, thank you for tuning in today on Stock Analysis Friday. Don't forget, tomorrow we've got the educational workshop. So if you're on our email list, you'll get the notice on that as well. And we're going to cover the OWL, the PTF, and the TLM, which is kind of what you saw me using today. But I'm going to go over it in detail and how they work. So if that interests you, definitely tune in. And then I want to thank you for being here, okay? And happy holidays to everybody. And we'll be back next Friday. All right, so have a good one. I'll put a little music on. I think I've got all of them today. So I think I went through all of them. Nobody got left out, which is good. And I'll see you next week, okay? Have a great week, everybody. Frank, let me see if I can fit you in real quick here. I didn't see yours. I think you might have come in a little bit late, but it's fine. But let me just see if I can check him out here. All right, let me see. So Frank Turpin, IWM, okay. I don't know how I missed these. It looks like maybe they showed up on my thing late. Not sure. Okay, so let me just take a look at this one. All right, so looking to go long. I think, Frank, on this one here, I would hold off, okay? We're having one more leg up here, but we're kind of, for the week, we're kind of got a little bit of a pause here. All right, we did make a new high. So I'm thinking it's a little risky to continue long here on a new trade, okay? So I'd hold off on that one. And then let me go here. Boy, I missed a whole bunch, didn't I? DODG, sorry about that. It didn't show up on my feed here until late. All right, let's see. DODGE, potential buy, not yet, okay? It's still moving down, hasn't changed in structure yet, so hold off. But we are entering a pretty interesting area here on the weekly chart, because what do we have? A fair value gap. We're right near consequent encroachment. So let's see what happens if we get rejection from that or not. So bring that back next week, okay? No buy for now, okay? All right, let me, UNG, we did the UNG. Did we do, I guess, I don't think we did UNG. Okay, let me do UNG here. Let's take a look here. On UNG, no buy for right now, okay? Hold off on UNG. If you're long in it, you got to have your stop at the bottom of this thing. So just hold off. I mean, that's a decisively bearish bar right now. All right, and we are going towards the end of this fair value gap. So maybe it'll hold, but I don't know. That looks like a pretty bearish bar over there. I see no reason to be buying in right now. Okay. All right, let's keep going here. Kumar, thank you. All right, let me see what on Frank's. Let's see, I think I got Frank Turpin. Was there, let's see, PALL. All right, let's take a look at Palladium here for you, Frank. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so, okay, so we got a break in structure to the downside. We got to move off its bottom. Let's see here. I think you're good for a little bit more up here. I think maybe you might run into trouble in this structured area here. So I'm thinking probably you got to be a little careful when you get into this area here, okay? Simply because that's the order block for the move down, okay? So we've got a nice move off the bottom. And be interesting to see what it does there. So I think you're probably okay to about 180 on this, okay? It's a little structure here at 170, but I think you're going to have another leg up. I'm not going to recommend this for everybody, but for you, because you do have some, I think probably it'll take equity here, 152. So for a short-term trade, like what I think you like to do, that will be okay. And you have a green PTF, okay? Is it going to break the high? It has to get over here first, okay? So we may get a pullback and then another move up, all right? So kind of, I mean, that's a big move down, which is great because chances are now it can really now swing its way up. If this swing is a correction and more movement to the downside. Well, we're almost at the 50% mark here at this order block. So I would see how the reaction is when we get to that gray area. Okay. But I think you got some more upside for sure. Okay. All right. And there it is. I think I got them all now. Let me see. Let me go through. Apologize for that, but my feed was delayed a little bit. I missed everybody's. Last one I think I had was Stu, and then they came in later. Okay, I think I got everybody. Okay, good. All right. So again, have a good one. We'll see you next week.